Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. It is episode 143, and oh boy, have we got a show for you. This is going to be awesome. I am looking forward to this conversation as we sit down and share our reactions to the 6th episode of the Ahsoka series. So let's get the introductions out of the way so we can get going, because I'm pretty stoked about this episode. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is the Ahsoka to my Sabine, the David Motters. David, brother, welcome, and how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, wow. I know there's, every time I think there's plenty to cover in an episode, holy mackerel, we don't even have enough time, buddy, to cover everything, but we'll do our best. I'm ready to react, and just excited to cover this with you.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be so much fun. This course episode is called Far, Far Away, released on the 19th of September of 2023, directed by Jennifer Geltzinger, and written by Dave Filoni for Emperor of the Galaxy. Brief synopsis, of course, is the search for Grand Admiral Thrawn reaches beyond the limits of the galaxy. Of course, that's the simple Disney Plus synopsis there, which works perfectly. So, initial reactions. Let's jump in and get this going. And I'm so excited. I normally give the floor to David to go first, but not so fast. I am. I gotta get this out of the way. I admit that when I was preparing for episode 6 to premiere on the 19th, I'll admit I was expecting, what a lot of people would call filler episodes, which I'm not. You know me, I don't believe in fillers. I was expecting that very slow, very character building story that usually comes after a huge epic action packed episode, which is just what the Disney era of Star Wars telling has done to us. We get huge epic episodes, then we get slower character building to kind of bring us back down to earth before we get something big and exciting. So that's kind of what I had prepared myself for. And whoa, I did not see that coming. I did not expect to see Thrawn in this episode, much less did I expect to see the much anticipated return of Ezra Bridger. I did go to my buddy's house and watch it. I was with Robbie, who you heard on our last episode, who sent in a listener reaction for us, as well as we were at his brother's house, Angelo. And of course, Angelo's son-in-law, Corey, was there, and we all sat down and watched this episode together, and they will testify that I was on the edge of my seat for the majority of the episode. It was just absolutely amazing. And I can honestly say that they have completely blown my theories of what the last 3 episodes are going to be completely out of the water. So I now have no idea what to expect from the next 2 episodes. So wowzers. It was amazing. David, brother, what were your initial reactions when you saw this?
Well, yeah, I wanted to piggyback kind of perfectly off of what you just said. Like, I think back to Mandalorian season 3, and again, spoiler alert. I mean, if you haven't watched that, please go watch it. But if you're listening to this, you've watched Mando season 3. And if you remember back then when Aaron and I were covering that, you know, I had mentioned to Aaron, I'm like, wow, gosh, you know, are they going to get to the mines of Mandalore, you know, by the end of season 3? And, you know, Favreau and Filoni just, boom, blew right past it, got to that. And, you know, it just kind of blew me away. And this was a similar thing, because I completely agree with Aaron. I did not expect to see Ezra in this episode, did not expect to see Thrawn. Now, again, we know from one of the trailers that came out, just before the series premiered, it did show Thrawn, saw the front of his face and stuff like this, saw him from the front instead of from the back. And so we knew we would see him, but I thought it'd be episode 8, part 8, not this one. And so, like Aaron said, I have no idea what to think for part 7, part 8, but I can't wait. I'm blown away by the Chimera, seeing it come into view. These troopers, we can obviously, you know, talk about them some more, but watching it a second time tonight, I told Aaron I was really wanting to get that second viewing and to really start taking in the details. And this is something I noticed but didn't really take in, honestly, when I was watching it tonight, was the red wrappings on these night troopers, right? That's what they're called when you have closed captioning on, right? Nightsisters, night troopers, the red wrapping. I'm like, So we can, you know, what does that mean? And so on and so forth. So again, millions of thoughts. Loved seeing Thrawn, loved seeing Ezra. Nightsisters, holy crow. Didn't know that, Nightsisters started here in Peridia, right? It's got 2 different names, Han, you know, so they purposely did that in this episode. It's said 2 different ways, and the planet. But just beautifully done. Gosh, I just seeing that big Eye of Sion come out of hyperspace was gorgeous. Seeing the whales. You know what I was going to say, Aaron, and then I'll wrap up my initial thoughts, because then we can get into talking points. But didn't hyperspace look different for the Eye of Sion and also for the Purgle? And I wondered, is it because, you know, when you think about, 6 or 7 hyperdrives that the Eye of Sion has to have the power to jump to another galaxy, it almost feels like a higher level of hyperspace drive, so much more color within it. Same thing for the Purgle, to be able to jump all the way there. And I think we know from our Star Wars history that all the stuff we've seen, they're jumping around the Star Wars galaxy as we know it. And so it has more of that traditional blue, you know, modeled view of hyperspace. But I thought that was gorgeous. And again, there's a million other things we can talk about. Wolves, right? Howler. All this kind of stuff. I got a kick out of him and his relationship with Sabine. Big surprise, right? That Dave Filoni has wolves, or a form of a wolf in this. Not a big surprise. But anyways, I could keep going on and on, but I know we can get to our talking points, hit some stuff. But just like Aaron said, I'll say this. You know, I think I was ready to just kind of calm down a little bit, and now, you know, Filoni hits me with another punch, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't take all this in. But I'll try my best, and I love it.
Oh, absolutely, I love it. And to quote your piggyback off of your light speed look.
Yeah.
It did look beautiful. It definitely did look different. You know, beyond hyperspace, you know, we probably have ridiculous speed, ludicrous speed, plaid speed. And if you get that joke, I love you guys. So,
Yeah. That's right.
but it was it was gorgeous. It was absolutely fantastic. So let's jump into our talking points. And I want to start with what we see at the beginning of the episode, before even the title screen comes up. We have Huyang. Huyang. I can.
You had it the first time,
Huyang. Okay. Care best. Anyway, we had the droid voiced by the Doctor, and Ahsoka still on board the ship, still inside the whale's mouth, journeying through hyperspace as they are on their way to find Thrawn and Sabine, and hopefully Ezra. And they're having a discussion. They're just basically chilling, and Huyang is like, you know, in the mouth of a whale for intergalactic travel. Never saw this on my bucket list. Or, I mean, he's just, you know, he's just like amazed but bored at the same time. And Ahsoka is very pensive, very thoughtful, and I love that little discussion they have, because they go back to the days of the temple. She starts talking about the stories Huyang used to tell of, and I think she said it was History of the Galaxy Part 1, 2, and 3, to which he offered to tell those stories. She's like, yeah, maybe later. But I thought it was a nice interaction, especially since it's the only time we see Ahsoka and Huyang in this episode. But I thought it was just a nice intro to get the feel of what's going on with her, because last we saw them, they did jump into hyperspace. We didn't know how they were or how they were doing, but it was nice to see them there. And one thing I did notice in that scene too, unlike in previous episodes, especially after the last one, all the episodes 1 through 4, Ahsoka was lit up a lot more. You could still see that change that we saw in episode 5, where she kind of went from, you know, Ahsoka the Gray to Ahsoka the White. But you could still see that the lighting on her was a lot more vibrant. It was a lot brighter, which I thought was pretty stinking awesome, as continuing that level of storytelling. But David, let's get your thoughts. What were your thoughts on that opening scene with Ahsoka?
Well, you know, it's very short, but it's very deep. And, you know, why do I say that? I mean, it speaks to Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship, the issue of choices, you know, free will. Do you do that? Do you know, the needs of the one, does it outweigh the needs of the many? You know, you referenced a movie there a minute ago. Hopefully people got it. And I'm, of course, referencing Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. So I think about that immediately, right, Aaron, when I hear Ahsoka and Huyang speaking about that. And then I think it also was super deep because maybe one of the last things he says before they cut to another scene is, you know, he's really trying to, you know, be supportive of Ahsoka and say, hey, look, you know, the Force can, you know, do a lot of things for you and give you some insights, but it doesn't answer all the questions. And, you know, that's, you know, but part of, you know, just kind of behind the scenes, Aaron and I are just getting ready for the show tonight. And I was trying to watch this a second time, but prior to it, I was talking to my son on the phone, and he had a million questions about so many things. I'm telling you, and I enjoyed answering them, but I didn't have the answer to all of it. You know, we just don't, and it's hard sometimes because you'd like to have more. But I really thought about that when I was rewatching this. That, you know, just because we have our Force heroes like Luke and, you know, and Ahsoka and some of these other individuals, they don't have all the answers. And there's they don't have perfect foresight. Like I think about, in my mind right now is Mace Windu. By the time episode 3 rolls around and there's a Sith Lord, in power, they're overwhelmed, so it's not, so you can see the flaws, and they're not all powerful. And so that's what I thought about. And I liked Huyang really giving her insight to, hey, yeah, you don't perfectly control Sabine, and she doesn't control you, and you and Sabine don't know all the answers. So very deep stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And well said. It was very, and that's one reason I love Dave Filoni's storytelling. You can tell when he has written and been involved heavily in something by the level of depth in just a small scene like this, and which makes things just mind-boggling at that point. So, oh man, it was incredible. And of course, from there we end up on board the Eye of Sion in hyperspace as well. And of course, we know, of course, Elsbeth's there, or Morgan Elsbeth's there, Baylon Skoll, Shin Hati. And of course, Sabine is in prison, is in a jail cell, we see. And what I really wanted to talk about from this scene here is we get almost like a brief history of the Nightsisters.
Yeah.
In this, which we've seen the Nightsisters before. If you've watched the Clone Wars, or even Rebels, you've seen the Nightsisters, and you know somewhat of their history and their story from there. But we get a lot of historical data on the Nightsisters in this episode from Morgan, where she talks about how they were her ancestors, the Nightsister ancestors, were the first to ride on the Purrgil across the galaxy, and how the Nightsisters, her ancestors, originally came from this planet that they're heading to. This is originally where they're from. And it was absolutely mind-boggling when she started talking about that, because we have seen, we're well versed with Nightsisters, with Mother Townsend, and of course, and we've seen their powers with giving with Maul and bringing him from his spider legs to his metal legs. Of course, the creation of Savage Press and so forth. I mean, we know they're very powerful. And I think that is absolutely incredible that we get to see the Nightsisters. What are your thoughts on the history that Morgan has shared?
Well, I mean, here's an example of where, I think I said it either last episode or the one before, where I remember I had my buddy who had never watched Rebels, and he was going to start watching Ahsoka, but his brother-in-law was like, no, man, you got to watch Rebels beforehand. And I thought, no, you can enjoy it either way. I mean, here's an example again of where I did tell him a couple weeks back. I said, okay, wait, I'm changing my mind. You need to watch all 4 seasons of Rebels, before you do this. And of course, now I want him to watch Clone Wars as well. Well, the Nightsister stuff and everything you just reeled off with Savage Press and Spider Maul getting his, going to Mecha Maul, right, and getting his legs done and all that. Yeah, I think, Filoni doing this, it's I don't know, I guess this is so overused, the love letter to Star Wars fans or whatever. And I mean, this is Filoni. I do think, like, what is it? Favreau said this is his magnum opus, and it's really showing. I mean, all that work he'd done previously, he's just pulling it into this, expanding it. I think this was part of where, like, when I saw the witches, when they landed there, I was like, what? And I think that's what I was still just trying to process after the last episode. Like you said, I thought, okay, can I catch my breath? And no, you can't. So I loved seeing it. It was fascinating to see Thrawn interacting with them and wanting their help. And do we talk a little bit, since we're talking about Nightsisters, like what are the night troopers loading onto the Chimera?
Well, I do want to actually bring the stormtroopers into this, because when we get there, we meet the Great Mothers.
Yep.
Which are apparently the ones in charge of the Nightsisters, the Great Mother, and the three of them, which are quite unique, and they're working with Thrawn and have tremendous foresight. You see, throughout the episode, because they see Ahsoka coming, they can sense that Sabine's a Jedi. I mean, there's a lot of. They're the ones Thrawn has been using to communicate to Morgan. So there's a lot of power there. And then you brought up the fact that these battered stormtroopers that are held together by what looks like red duct tape. It's literally what it looks like. Are, if you have the captions on, you find out they're called night troopers, which brings the Nightsisters into this, because we have seen their ability to raise the dead.
Right.
And Thrawn refers to later in the episode, says that they have lost quite a bit of the numbers since arriving during their exile. So, which begs the question, how many troopers does he truly have left that are actually, alive?
Right.
Because I'm beginning to think that these battered and red troopers aren't of the living persuasion, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting thing to see play out, especially since we've seen a risen night creature anyway with Merrick.
Well, right. That's what I was saying. You went right where I was thinking. I was just about to bring that up. I mean, we saw the green mist come out of him. Morgan, Elsbeth, use her magic. Even Thrawn uses it. It's even spelled Magick, different than typical magic. And so you see that with Merrick. And so that's the first thing, I'm thinking about with these troopers as I'm looking at them, just, man, oh man, if they got hit with a lightsaber or a blaster, do we see green mist coming out of them? So interesting. I'm curious. And I alluded to it, I couldn't really pick it up. There's so much. The second viewing, I'm like, whoa, wait, I'm really watching the night troopers taking these caskets, or they look the size of caskets, and even Morgan Elsbeth said it would take 3 rotations to get those out of the catacombs. Are these all dead Night Brothers, Nightsisters, who they're going to put into stormtrooper armor to be part of a built up stronger Thrawn fleet that work for him specifically on the Chimera? Or are we talking just kind of Thrawn saying, hey, look, I will take all these on board. You can reincarnate them once we get back to wherever we are. You can run them and have your own planet. Dathomir, right? Is Dathomir still there? I mean,
it's still there. It's been bombarded, but it's there.
Right. By Grievous, right?
And we know it's there because Sabine and Kanan went there, and Ezra went, and all went there during Rebels.
Yes. So maybe it's that. Hey, Great Mothers, help me speak with Morgan Elsbeth, get him here, and yes, load all your crew onto the Chimera, and I get to go back. You get all these individuals. You get to repopulate a planet. Again, I don't know. We'll see how this all plays out, but it's fascinating, just fascinating.
It truly is, and I've been very intrigued by their role in this, because there's more to their story that we haven't found out yet. Like, why are they wanting to leave this planet? And I think it's the exact questions that Baylon Skoll is asking. Why are they wanting to leave? Is there something even more powerful here that they're trying to get away from? And so there's quite a unique look on this that I'm scratching my head about, and I'm going to jump ahead in the notes a little bit and get to Baylon Skoll. Well, not really. This isn't really in our notes, but Baylon Skoll, when he was talking to Shin Hati about what their goals are on this planet, and about why they're wanting to leave. There's nothing here; it's all desolate. And he talks about the power and how something is calling him. Something is calling him, and throughout he's mentioned that a couple times. And I wanted to see if you noticed on the inbound flight from the hyperdrive ship to the planet, as they're going through the planet countryside and everything, all the statues that are standing up and still there, did they look familiar to you?
Well, I just flashed back to Galaxy's Edge and kind of the mural as you and I walk into Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. And then my mind goes to inside, and where I think they were selling like the 4 stages of Dwardy statues that I think Emperor Palpatine had in his Senator Palpatine had in his Coruscant office. So that's kind of where my mind goes, is those types of statues and that kind of look. But is that what you're thinking, or am I way off?
I went to season 6 of Clone Wars.
Season 6 Clone. Oh.
Yoda, the Yoda arc.
Wait. Oh, when he's
the Wills.
The Wills. Oh, dude. Now you're. Oh man. Okay. See,
to me, those looked very similar to the Wills that we saw in that arc.
Yeah. Holy crow.
So, Baylon Skoll has a, and here's the, one of the things I love about Star Wars, and I've said this numerous times, is everything they've done has some kind of redemptive story to it. Even you can find redemption stories even in places you don't expect to find them, like Rogue One, the redemption, Jyn Erso's whole story, Cassian Andor's whole story. They're redemption stories. I mean, it's essentially what they are. They're on a journey and they find redemption in their mission. I think I want to say it here. I think Baylon Skoll's on a redemption journey.
Interesting.
I think by the end of it, I think the what he is searching for, what he feels calling to him, are the Wills that are who are calling him to set him back on the right path.
Interesting. So a more powerful force than the Nightsisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think, and I hate to say this, because I think Steven's passing really is going to hurt the story, because I'm willing to bet he had a larger role to play in the story to come, because I think his redemptive story would have had him flip.
Oh man.
And become the Jedi that because if you watch him throughout even in this episode, when he's talking to Shin about the order and about the temple, there is a longing.
Yeah.
And I dare say even a fondness in his memory. Even though he disagreed with the order and he walked away from the order, there's something there that is driving him. And I don't think it's And honestly, I don't think it's a lust for power. I think it's a search for balance.
A new beginning, he says. Yeah.
Yes. I think he's searching for, I think after Order 66, he lost his meaning. He lost who he was, and he's searching for it again. Which is why he, even though he has done some stuff, some bad stuff, and he's done some dark side stuff, I think that's why you see an orange lightsaber rather than a full red, because as Luke would say, there's still good in him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see glimpses of that through these 6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. Not wanting to kill Ahsoka or Sabine, you know, like, because there's so few left, he says in a previous episode. Wow, see, I can't even recover from 4 and 5, and now it's part 6, and I feel like I have adrenal fatigue, you know, where you're just so high for so many weeks, and it's just like my adrenals are giving out, and I'm just crashing here, man.
I know we're gonna need a vacation after this series is over.
Wow, Filoni's just well, you're right, because in the notes you put Baylon and Shin on the hunt, and it was during that hunt when they found those nomads or bandits that Sabine had defeated, and that's when you see him say, she asked, "You missed the order," and he says, "I missed the idea of it," and so on. But it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot here, and if it is true that Dave Filoni later on does, back up what you said, that they had plans for, a season 2 with a lot more of him in it, helping Ahsoka and all them, even leading into the, what do we call it, the Filoni-Favreau-verse movie. That's heartbreaking, because we're already missing this guy, and we're enjoying him so much in these episodes. So yeah, heartbreaking if oh my gosh, if they had much bigger plans. Be interesting to see if they confirm that or not. But yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, and I don't think we'll hear anything on that till after the series is over. But man, I just can't imagine what stories they could tell with this guy. I mean, I am still, I'm still going to, I'm going to say it now. I still advocate for a Baylon Skoll series.
Yeah.
I would, even if they go animated, I don't care. I want to see a Baylon Skoll series. I would like to see him in the Order. I would like to see what happened to him after the Order. I need this. I want this.
Yeah.
Somebody give it to me.
Well, when there's interesting characters, boy, oh boy, it's not easy to develop them. Complex, interesting characters, but he is definitely one of them. Yeah, I mean, this is part of, why they're on strike, because quite honestly, if they got permission from Ray Stevenson's family to use his likeness, they could make it. They literally could make that series, and you would think that's him, that's his voice, and nope, it's not. And anyways, we can get off onto a tangent there, but that's, again, more deep stuff there. But no, fantastic character.
It truly is. It truly is. And I gotta say, like I said, I've said it in the past episodes too. He has become probably my favorite character from this series. Very easily. He's so complex, and he's such a mystery. I love that about this guy.
Nice.
So, all right. Well, we got a lot more to talk about. We haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet, and this has all been awesome so far. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about Far, Far Away. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David still here, still chilling, still sharing our reactions to far, far away. So let's we're going to keep going in our talking points here and get these run through real quick. The next one we want to talk about is we will start getting into our big reveals that happen in this episode. And I want to talk about the reveal of a certain blue-faced, red-eyed Admiral of the Empire. The Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I have to say, that was probably one of the best reveals I've seen in Star Wars.
Yeah,
definitely. It was such a huge reveal with the Star Destroyer just showing up and just dwarfing the palace they're in, and just kind of settling in above it, seeing the damage on the Chimera. We see, it's the Chimera. We've seen the emblem underneath. We know it's the Chimera. The damage from being gripped by the Purrgil and drug across the galaxy. And it is such it's such a cute, gorgeous cinematic event. And then of course all these night troopers, which are, I think they're the Walking Dead of stormtroopers, standing there just chanting Thrawn, 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 Thrawn. I mean, it was chilling. And then we get introduced to Captain Enoch, who we find out is the captain of Thrawn's personal god, in his half stormtrooper, half gold costume with the gold plate face thing. Of course, Wes Chatham is the actor under there. Fantastic. I mean, incredible looking stormtrooper, or whatever he is. And it was just absolutely incredible. Then, of course, you get the glimpse of what's obviously Thrawn marching through the ranks of the troopers before he's finally revealed, crossing the bridge to meet the Great Mothers and Morgan Elsbeth and Baylon and Shin. And when he finally crosses the bridge and we got that nice close up, and then when he opens his mouth and starts talking, and it's, of course, the actor portraying him is the same actor who voiced him in Rebels. So it's the same voice we have been watching since 2017, or was it 2016 when he debuted? I think it was 17. I'd have to go back and look. But
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Right.
In Rebels. Gotcha. So it's the same voice, and hearing that voice again, oh my gosh, I melted. I just melted in a goo of absolute joy and happiness, because Thrawn has always been my favorite villain. And I will still claim that, because I don't think Baylon Skoll is going to end up being a villain by the end of this, but that's a different discussion. But Thrawn, I've always loved Thrawn. He has been very energetic, very thoughtful, very pensive, very analytical, and very calm. And I love that. And even in the books, the original Thrawn trilogy, Heir of the Empire and all them, the character just had you could feel that air of superiority from the character. And you got that in Rebels, and you still get that now. Even though he's exiled in another galaxy on a half-crippled Star Destroyer with what appears to be the Walking Dead. I mean, it's just perfection in the portrayal of this character. And in his reveal was just incredible. So I got to throw it to you, David. Tell me, when Thrawn arrived, when the Star Destroyer arrived, Thrawn arrived. How did you react? What were your thoughts on this reveal?
Yeah, I mean, seeing that the Star Destroyer, the Chimera, pull up like that, and see the bottom, and like you said, the gold plating, and of course, you and I know that the damage to it is done by the Purgles at the end of season 4 of Rebels, and you're like, oh my gosh, just seeing this is incredible, and I think it kind of like you said, this I think is so much deeper on so many more levels for me because you and I meeting Tim Zahn this year, standing there talking to him. Fortunately, he gave us an interview, which was great, and I encourage people to go back and listen to Aaron and I talking to the creator of Thrawn, and we play the bumper. Aaron is so awesome, puts it in there, at the beginning of each of our episodes. That's Tim Zahn, and so I think, the reveal and seeing this character revealed like this, I think it means so much more, not only from meeting Zahn, but I bought my copy of Heir to the Empire right from him, not from a store. I said, boom, from him, and purposely read it. Here I said this to our listeners in August because I wanted to have it read before the Ahsoka series started. And so for all those reasons, it's so cool to see this reveal. And I love that it is the actor who voiced him. And I tell you, Aaron, watching it the second time, the first time I'm trying to take in the voice, the face, I'm trying to take in the uniform. But tonight, when I watched it before you and I jumped on, I'm just looking at Lars Mikkelsen. I'm looking at the red eyes. I'm looking at the blue skin. I'm like, God, it looks better the second. It's like spaghetti, the next day. You got to put it in the fridge and have it the next day. It was so much better. I'm like, oh my gosh, he looks so good. The red eyes looked better. His voice, him speaking to Morgan Elsbeth. I guess I can go on and on. But I think for some of those reasons, buddy, again, meeting Tim Zahn this year, going through Heir to the Empire for the first time, and then seeing this reveal was really special. And I'm trying not to use the word that Dan says is not be hyperbolic. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm for real. This was really special stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it really was. It was a very special moment in live action Star Wars to get him in the show. And you're right. I think with the chance that we had earlier this year really made it even a little bit more special. I would love to hear Tim Zahn's thoughts on his character that he created now being not only in animation, but now being in live action. I would love to hear his thoughts on that. But,
oh yes.
I'm sure he has. I'm sure he's overjoyed by his creation advancing the way it has. So of course, one of the other things that happens with this Thrawn reveal is he finds out that Sabine's there. And I love how when Morgan Elsbeth basically says, Sabine, the prisoner is Sabine Wren. And Thrawn just kind of tips his head back. It was just kind of like, I recognize that name.
Oh, yes.
And then, of course, when Sabine finally comes face to face with him, and he's like, Sabine Wren. And she's like, Thrawn, where's Ezra? She's like, she's not impressed. It to me, and this is, I'm going into our next point here. This is this reaction to Thrawn from Sabine, to me, was probably the most connected to the animated character that we've seen. Because you remember when Sabine in Rebels, she was during the 4th season, we have her basically dressed up like a biker scout, and she gets captured, and she's being grilled by this. I forget the character's name, but he reports directly to Palpatine, and it's when they're digging up the Jedi Temple on Lothal.
Yep. Yeah.
And she is just as quick-witted and short with this guy as she is with Thrawn in this. She's got that same attitude. I was waiting for the fingers to start snapping, because it was there, and it was, I mean, it really felt like Sabine to me at that point. I mean, I saw the old Sabine there, and I loved it.
Well, and let me say this, Aaron and I talked about this past weekend. I went to Ocala Comic-Con, not Central Florida Comic-Con, where Aaron and I each have a Comic-Con now in our hometown, but Central Florida Comic-Con is still our hometown con. But I went there to see Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul. And when I got there Saturday morning, close to first in line, I'm standing there, and I look to the right, and Cameron Monaghan comes out, who plays Cal Kestis. And then the actress who plays Marin, you got to forgive me. I don't play the game. I love the cutscenes. I need to watch all of it. But that's to the right, these two stars of Jedi Survivor, and of course Jedi Fallen Order. And then I look to my left, and here's Tia Sircar, the voice of Sabine Wren. And I'm standing there, I'm looking at her. She's as close to me, she's 5 feet away from me. There's Sam Witwer. He starts signing autographs. He's 5 feet from me. And I can hear her talking to the person there kind of organizing her table. And all I can think of is her doing the monologue and the epilogue at the end of Rebels. And it was a surprise. She wasn't announced to be there. But I was standing there looking, and I could see the stuff she was signing. But you got me thinking, just as you were mentioning this, and I think about Natasha Liu Bordizzo. When you see pictures of her next to the animated Sabine, she is so close in look. I mean, people put these on, Twitter X and Instagram. I'm like, wow, I love how they put, hair live action with hair animated, and Sabine animated, Sabine live action. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Natasha Liu Bordizzo looks so much like her. And Tia Sircar does not. Okay, she doesn't. And I was just looking at Tia, and I was like, wait, we need your voice, Tia, with Natasha Liu Bordizzo. But I think that would kind of mess with people if they did it that way. But I think they picked, to pick. Dave Filoni's smart. Cast him as live action Thrawn, but they've got someone else doing Ezra. They got someone else doing Sabine, someone else doing Hera. But I think all the decisions have been really good, because it's incredible to see how much Natasha Liu Bordizzo looks like Sabine. It's perfect.
It really is, and she does a fantastic job, and she is the one that brings us to our next reveal, which in this episode, which is, of course, she is released by Thrawn to fulfill the promise that Baylon Skoll made to her to help her find Ezra. Thrawn provides her with a ride and all her supplies she needs, a scanner, and everything she needs, returns her weapons and everything, and sets her free to go find Ezra. And she rides off into the sunset, looking for Ezra. She meets up she gets jumped by some bandits who she ends up defeating. Once she gets rid of her blasters and brings out her lightsaber, she defeats them pretty handily. Then her ride ends up introducing her to the rock people from Frozen. At least that's who they reminded me of, at least the little rock people. I was waiting for them to break into song and dance, but it was they were cute. I could see him showing up at Galaxy's Edge soon, as a stuffed creature to be sold. But they were cute, and they are what lead her to Ezra Bridger. And I gotta say, when the creature recognized, the Naughty recognized the rebel emblem on her shoulder armor, and then she pulled out the little wooden necklace he had painted with that logo on it, and she realized they know Ezra. I was sitting on that couch and I'm like, oh no, we're not going to see Ezra in this episode, are we? It's too early. We can't see Ezra yet. No, this is not going to happen. It can't happen. No, not yet. It can't be yet, is it? And they take her back to a village, and she's walking through the village, and they stop, and the one that brought her there is trying to give her some food, and she's politely declining, and all of a sudden you hear, well, it's about time. What took you so long? I knew you would find me. Oh my God. And she turns around, and there's Moses.
Right.
Not really. It's Ezra Bridger, but he kind of looked like Moses from the movie Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
He really did. There's no getting around that. He looked just like him. But it was Ezra. And I gotta say, hearing them talk back and forth, and then seeing that embrace, I cried, dude. I got misty-eyed. I was, and I'm glad the lights were off over at Angelo's, because, dude, they even made joke. Oh, I bet Eric's crying. I'm like, yeah, I was. I was wiping the tears away as fast as they were coming out. It was, oh man, I have waited 5.5 years for that scene, to see that. It literally has been 5.5 years since the episode of the finale of Rebels aired. I have waited 5.5 years for that. And it couldn't have been more perfect. It was incredible. Dave, tell me about your feelings and your reactions when Ezra and Sabine are reunited.
Yeah. It's 5.5 years for us. How many years is it for them? I was trying to think.
A lot more.
A lot more, right? Isn't it like if we go end of Rebels, you go through A New Hope, you go through Empire, Return of the Jedi, which is what, considered a 4-year span, I believe. 1, 2,
yeah.
3. And then we're 5 years. Is this the same time as Mando season 3?
Yes.
Roughly 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So we're roughly 9 years, 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Since he's been blown out to the other end of the galaxy, which is incredible. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't think I'd be seeing him. It threw me off because I'm looking at the toy the Ezra Bridger toy that you and I bought. I bought it at Central Florida Comic Con several years ago of him on a speeder bike. I don't know, the beard threw me off a bit. I thought Jesus, you mentioned Moses, all these biblical characters and stuff like this, but I'm usually the first one to cry. I was kind of like, is it me? I don't know what I expected from it. Was it like, do you run towards each other and embrace, or is it more like this, more of a slow, subtle kind of say hello kind of thing? I didn't know if he would be like there and just screaming from the rooftops, like when he sees, oh my God, that's Sabine, and she did come, and he's just standing there all kind of chill and stuff. I'd be freaking out. I don't know. I guess for me, like where things have landed for me and they haven't for you, for me, I'm like, I'm not being hyperbolic with how incredible I thought Thrawn's intro was. This, I was just like, it left for me. And again, I'm the one who tears up and cries. I'm like, I think I'm supposed to feel more, but it's kind of like, are either one excited to see each other? Okay, let's just pack up the moving shells here and move to the next place. I'm like, wait, what? So that's me. I know this is where, like last week we said, send your hate mail to TA Harris 121079. You can still send it to him. Don't send it to me.
I'll forward it to you.
You'll forward it to me. Okay. But for me, I was underwhelmed after a 5.5-year wait. But then I guess my question is, well, how do you do it? I love how they did Thrawn. How do you do this one? I don't know. I just thought it would be more tears in him and joy, more joy. I mean, it's just more leaning up against the side of the thing. Oh man, I'm so glad you came. It took you so long. And he's been out there over a decade, and here you'd be looking and going, is that really you? I've been waiting for years to see you, Sabine. And he's just kind of, yeah, I'm all chill. I'm good. What? So anyway, I don't know. I don't know how, I guess I'm being a party pooper on this one, but it just didn't land. I'm just being honest.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But this is where I have to refer you back to Rebels. Look at their relationship during Rebels. At any point, like when they were separated or when something bad happens, did you ever see them get excited to see each other? It was always the laid back, hey, what's up? How you doing? No matter what happened, that's how their relationship was. It was that there was never an overabundance of emotion, because Sabine always kept her emotions bottled up because of being a Mandalorian. She just and being hurt as many times as she had, she'd always kept her emotions bottled up. Ezra, being alone for so long, he never really expressed his emotions that much either. So you have two very emotionally blocked people finding each other, and they pick up right where they left off.
Okay, so now, Aaron, you just did a mini psychology corner in this episode. Hats off. I love it. That was really good. As soon as you said it, I started flashing back to Ezra interacting with Sabine, and he's trying to be all cool by her, but she's kind of like, nah, I'm older than you and you're not that cool. And, he always wanted her to be more impressed with him, and she wasn't. So very good points. Very good points.
Yeah. You go back to the premiere episode when he first sees her without the helmet. When he first meets her, they're under attack. They got TIE fighters attacking the Ghost, and she pulls him out of the seat so she can use the turret cannon, and she pulls off her helmet and kind of shakes her hair, and he's like, oh, and she's like, yeah, here, hold this. And just jumps in and starts blasting TIE fighters. I mean, that's just kind of the relationship they had. And every time they interacted after that, he's always kind of, what's up? He's doing the whole Joey from Friends thing. How you doing? And you're leaning up against the wall, leaning on the table. They never really had that. And I think that's why he asked her to come after her.
Oh, after him, yeah.
Not Hera, not Zeb, definitely not Chopper. Chopper would have been like, okay, whatever. He asked Sabine.
You bring up good points. Yeah. I'm with you. I still think after 10 years, he'd still be a little bit more excited, but I get what you're saying. So, yeah.
Honestly, I still believe he is like uber excited and doesn't know what to do with himself, but he is playing the role the way he's treating Sabine the way he's always treated Sabine.
Yeah.
And she is treating him the same way she's always treated him. It's like, this is like when you it's almost when you've waited for something for so long, you get in your head how it might play out. But this is, to me, this played out perfectly, because I love how they reacted to each other, because they did have their little their little talk, and they both got a little smart alecky with them. I'm glad you came after me. Took you long enough, though. Yeah. Well, you didn't tell anybody where you were going. Sure. Yeah. Well, I didn't know where I was going. Well, typical Ezra. Yeah. Great plan. No follow through. No follow through. I mean, they went right back to the brother sister picking on each other relationship they had before he left.
So, Aaron, are you trying to say that Dave Filoni knows his characters better than I do? Come on. Carabast. All right. There's my Carabast.
I'm not saying a word, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. Yeah, I think that, yes. Yes. He knows his characters better than this dude sitting in Ocala, Florida does. Yeah. So.
In Dave we trust.
That's right. That's right.
And by God, he has never let us down. And he never will. He never will. All right. So let's wrap things up here, because at the end of the episode we see Thrawn. We end up back with Thrawn talking to the Great Mothers as they summon him to let him know that there's another Jedi there's another person, another problem coming. And he like, okay, well, this is not good. Has a brief conversation with Morgan Elsbeth, questioning whether or not this could be the previously reported deceased Ahsoka Tano. And she's like, no, Baylon said he was dead. She's like, well, the Nightsisters and the Jedi have faked death plenty of times. So we can't rely on Baylon Skoll, who claimed that she died. And he gives that final order, which I believe is setting up a very action-packed next episode, because he tells her to take the drive and blast anything that comes out of hyperspace. And blast the whales as they come out of hyperspace. So I got a feeling we're about to have a very action-packed episode 7.
Oh, I can't take it, man. Okay, I can take it.
Oh, I can take it. I can take it. So, and of course, the episode ends with a close-up of Thrawn's cool, calculating face.
Oh, love it.
Thoughts on the end of the episode, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, any star whale comes out of hyperspace, destroy it or attack it with prejudice. This is, last episode really helped develop and make the transformation of Ahsoka. This one really has a little bit of Ahsoka and really allows the other characters to get their time. Now we're, again, penultimate episode and season finale. That's what I'm saying, not series finale. I'm putting that out there. Season finale is going to be big time with all this action. Again, just like a lot of these episodes, you got to watch them twice. One time just to kind of listen to the music and listen to the words. The other time just to pick up all the visuals. And so watching it twice, I finally have most of it in my head. I need to go back and watch it again, but just taking in all the details, all the stuff, looking at Thrawn, and like you said, ending the episode on his face, I thought was great. And initially I'm like, am I feeling it? But after watching it a second time, and again, looking at the face, looking at the hair, looking at his eyes, I'm like, oh, I was even looking at his Grand Admiral insignia on the front of his chest. I'm like, holy crow, this is really cool. So I love what it sets up. Hey, Saturday morning serial, right? They always leave on a cliffhanger, and they're doing it right here. So really, really excited for next week. I just don't know if my adrenals can take it. My adrenal fatigue, Aaron.
Oh, I know it is going to be. I think these final episodes are going to be taxing.
No doubt.
Quite taxing, emotionally and probably physically. So
Yeah.
it's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. So. All right, my friend. I think that wraps up our talking points. Anything you want to hit on before we continue on?
No. I think we really did it. There's, we could talk for hours. You and I always say that, but we've got to try to keep it contained. So no, I feel we hit the high points here, man.
Excellent. I believe so as well. And covered quite a bit. There's, like we said, there's always a lot more we could do, but let's go ahead and start getting things wrapped up. Before we go into closing out the show, this week's episode, we are going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll have our final reactions. David will bring his psychology corner, and I got a dad joke of the week. It's going to be a good one. So hang with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Aaron and David here. We are closing out our discussion of Far, Far Away. So let's go ahead and kick off our final reactions. David, my friend, the floor is yours.
Yeah, this is incredible. And in fact, as I was thinking about final reactions, there's a few things that I was thinking about. I've alluded to this, not even alluded, I have said this pretty clearly in our previous coverage of these Ahsoka parts, these episodes, that it doesn't feel like we're in the volume. Like we said, did the technology improve? How are they doing this? Like, for example, Aaron, I think mentioned, if you guys remember, he talked about the ship coming down and flying down into atmosphere on Peridea, and that ship that disconnects from the big Eye of Sion hyperspace ring comes down. And when you see that fly in, I did think about Mandalorian season 3, where Bo-Katan is, or even Mando is bringing that gauntlet down onto Mandalore, and how I'm like, man, that just, it looks so good, and even times where, they're inside of the Chimera, and looking at the stormtroopers, I'm like, my gosh, this looks so good. Looking at the great mothers and the big huge pedestal they're on before Thrawn and the Chimera shows up. I'm like, look at this background, and it looks like they're on this planet. And even, again, watching it the second time, I was, again, the things you don't look at the first time, the second time, I'm looking past Ezra and Sabine, and I'm looking at the lake behind them, and I'm like, looking at that, going, I think it's there, versus before I'm like, oh no, that's where the volume starts, stagecraft. So I just really wanted to point that out, that, man, I don't know, Aaron, have they spent way more money on this than they did on Kenobi and some of these other series, because it looks so gorgeous. Seeing the Chimera from the top and bottom, looking at Thrawn, looking at these night troopers, looking at the Nightsisters and their magic and kind of the thing that they held Sabine in and put her into that cell. And it's incredible. And the Purgle going through hyperspace. I guess I'm really focused on the visuals here, but it's just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And then I'll say this, there wasn't a lot of dialogue last episode, a lot of action with the Clone Wars, a lot of visual, took us back to where, Aaron and I, all the listeners, we remember the Clone Wars and all these scenes, and Ahsoka at different ages, Anakin at different ages. And here, there is more dialogue. We call it what? Exposition. And I found myself wowed by the visuals, but also just really absorbing the exposition, the backstory, learning more about the Sisters of Dathomir, more about Baylon Skoll, more about Shin Hati, how she was trained, learning that Ezra was trained as a Bokken Jedi, Bokken, right? And learning that Baylon Skoll was a general in the Clone Wars, right, and stuff like that. Don't worry, that's actually our oven. My wife's just, that's not anybody calling in, but all that to say that I was just so impressed with the visuals, with the exposition. I wanted to hear all of it. I wasn't bored with it, and just I guess maybe one other thing, just Howler. I got such a kick out of that wolf. I'm not sure how they created that. I'm sure it's Legacy Effects, right? Who did Baby Yoda and all the rest of these characters. I'm sure they put that together somehow. And I loved his little personality and stuff, and how Sabine was playing hard to get with him, you know. So cute little stuff there. But overall, incredible episode. I love where it ended on a cliffhanger with some really great stuff to happen here in the next 2 episodes. So those are just some of my final reactions. How about you, buddy?
Oh man, well said, well said. And if she's cooking a cake, save me a piece. Right. The fantastic. This was a fantastic episode. I absolutely loved it, and to say I love it is really an understatement. Like I said earlier, I waited 5.5 years to see Sabine and Ezra come face to face, and for me, it did not disappoint. I got chills throughout the whole episode, especially when I heard Kevin Kiner's Thrawn theme from Rebels interlaced with the new theme, the new soundtrack for this show. I mean, it was just, whew. The stormtroopers, Enoch, I mean, they all look like they've been to hell and back, which so does the Chimera, so it doesn't surprise me. But this was an absolutely beautiful episode. And honestly, when I was sitting down watching this episode again, and then got online and was doing some stuff, and I came across a video of Dave Filoni at Celebration. And he was trolling us without us knowing he was trolling us, because he was talking about Thrawn. He was talking about Rebels and everything, and talking about somebody, I think it was Kristen Baver who was talking to him, and asked him where Thrawn was, where Ezra and Thrawn were. And he kind of laughed, and he's like, y'all want to know where Thrawn is? Y'all want me to tell you where Thrawn is? And everybody's shouting, and she goes, yeah. And he goes, far, far away.
No way, he did?
He did.
Oh my God.
He was trolling us without us even knowing.
Oh.
I love Dave Filoni. I love you, Dave Filoni. So I'll find the video and send it to you, and I'll post it on our social media when I find it on Facebook and X and everything. So, but yeah, it was. I'll have to go back and find it again. But yeah, it's there. He said it. So yeah, fantastic. I loved it. I loved seeing Thrawn. I loved seeing Ezra. And now I'm longing to see Ezra reunited with Hera, because that will be an emotional reunion.
Oh gosh.
All the emotion you said that was missing from the Ezra Sabine one, you will get in abundance when he comes face to face with Hera.
Oh yeah. I can see them sitting on the ramp.
Yes.
The ghost talking there on Lothal, just talking privately and having tears when she says we have hope. And that's, yeah.
When he sees his space mom again, it's all done. So.
Oh, Filoni's going to do that to us. Oh my God.
Yes, he is. And I can't, and I, as much as I will cry like a baby, I cannot wait to see him and Hera together.
Yeah, I agree.
So, well, that wraps up our discussion of Far, Far Away, the 6th episode of Ahsoka. We want to hear from you. You can actually talk to us about the series, or about the episode, or even about next week's episode on any of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook and X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at SW Reactions Pod. We are on Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, where you can find all of our show notes. And we have just joined Threads, which is if you don't know what Threads is, that is the kind of the Instagram's version of Twitter. So we are now there at SW Reactions. So make sure you check us out there. And of course, you can email us anytime, swreactions@gmail.com. See what's going on. We would love to hear from you. And of course, you can leave us a voicemail at any time of day over at I was going to say Speakeasy, but I know that's not right. You're not leaving us a message at a Speakeasy, that's for sure. You can leave us a message. Carabast. You can leave us a message anytime over at SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. David, my friend, Psychology Corner time.
Oh, man. All new, man. All new. Piggybacks on the previous ones that I've been doing for the entire Ahsoka series. So I've got this one tonight and then 2 more, one after next week's Ahsoka Part 7, then final one after Ahsoka Part 8, Episode 8. So, okay. So what I've done each week is just kind of briefly refresh people. If they hadn't listened to the week before, and if they haven't, why haven't they? Definitely go back and listen to the whole thing, especially the Psychology Corner and Aaron's dad joke of the week. But so last week I shared 3 possible sources of meaning from Dr. Viktor Frankl's point of view. Dr. Viktor Frankl is the author of Man's Search for Meaning, the creator of logotherapy, meaning therapy, and he was a psychiatrist in Vienna, Austria, and was in 4 concentration camps in 3 years. So I'm very fascinated with his thoughts and views on things because of the background and history that he's had. And so very quickly, he shared that those 3 possible sources of meaning were work, doing something significant via that, loving someone else, caring for someone else, and even being courageous during difficult times. I did ask our listeners to ponder on these 3 possible sources of meaning. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? Right? We want people to have critical thinking skills. We don't have to agree with everything. Let's be intellectually honest. And I also said that I would talk further on Frankl's most enduring insight that is taken by Rabbi Harold Kushner. He wrote the foreword to the most recent edition of Man's Search for Meaning. Rabbi Harold Kushner is also the author of When Bad Things Happen to Good People and a few other books and stuff like that. But he says this, and I wanted to share this as I've flowed through each of the psychology corners. I thought this fit really nicely here. And it's this. Rabbi Kushner said that Frankl's most enduring insight, one that I have called on often in my own life and in countless counseling situations, is this: forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. You cannot control what happens to you in your life, but you can always control what you will feel and do about what happens to you. And so, I wanted to share this for a couple of reasons. One, I would say it's really important for everyone to hear this, and probably everyone should have it on a piece of paper taped to their bathroom mirror as they get ready each day, right? Because, one of the things he says there again is something that most Americans and most humans don't want to hear. And he says, you cannot control what happens to you in your life. And you might be like, wait, what? And That's that illusion of control I've talked about in previous years, previous episodes that Aaron and I have covered. We as humans think we have more control than we do, but it's important to know that even if things can be taken away quickly, you still can decide how you feel and how you'll behave with that. Now, kind of going with that, the second reason I thought it was really important to share Rabbi Kushner's insights is because it leads perfectly into 5 other possible sources of meaning. These are ones that I have brought up in previous episodes. I think it bears repeating, obviously, but we go from the 3 that Dr. Frankel mentioned, and here's, quote, the usual 5 other possible sources of meaning that in particular here in America we have heard. All of you have heard these. I think even, Christina and Kendra, our Star Wars sisters down under have heard this as well. But the 5 other possible sources of meaning are job, spouse or partner, children, finances, and health. And, just as before, Aaron, I would ask our listeners to ponder on these 5 possible sources of meaning. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Just like the 3 possible sources of meaning I mentioned last week and even a little bit earlier tonight, I asked you to think about those. So kind of giving you almost 5, upwards of 8 different possible sources of meaning. But let me just leave our listeners with this, just like Dave Filoni left us with Thrawn talking about an attack on Ahsoka in the Purgle when they arrive. I'll say this. Keep in mind Kushner's quote just above. And again, it's the reason why I put it there. He says, forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess. Think about that when considering the 5 sources of meaning I just mentioned. Okay? Just a little hint. Can they all be taken away real fast? Just something to think about. Okay? So there it is. Leading up again, trying to build up to a crescendo, just like Dave Filoni here. I'll have more next week, but I would ask everybody to keep those in mind. Keep coming along for the ride on this. And, I feel like this is a Psychology Corner series, Aaron, that is developing and unfolding, just like Filoni's trying to do with the story of Ahsoka and Thrawn and all them. So there you go.
Very good. Very good. That was awesome. Of course, if somebody wants to talk to you about the Psychology Corner or about Star Wars, how would they go about doing that, my friend?
Absolutely. Twitter X is at David_Modders, Modders. And of course, Instagram is just look up my name and there I am.
Very good. Very good. And if you want to talk Star Wars with me or send me dad jokes or talk about dad jokes or just anything at all, the best place to do that is Twitter. You can hit me up at TA Harris 121079. That's the best place to find me. And yeah, let's do it. Well, David, it's that time, my friend.
I have adrenal fatigue, so I probably can't do it tonight. Okay, yes, I can do the joke of the week with you.
It doesn't matter if you can handle it or not. It's coming.
It's happening. Okay.
It's happening because I got an awesome one here for you. And I will go ahead and admit this one is not mine. This one was actually sent to me by our good friend Liberty Timmons.
Nice.
Sent it to me, and I'm like, as soon as I read it, I told her I am using this, whether you want me to or not. I'm using it, and yeah, she sent it to me yesterday. So, are you ready, David?
I'm ready. I love it. Thank you, Liberty.
What do you get when you mix banana bread with Star Wars?
I don't know. What do you get when you mix banana bread and Star Wars?
Bananakin Skywalker.
Wow. It's actually good.
Bananakin Skywalker.
That is good.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, David, my friend, this has been a blast as always.
Absolutely, it has. And thank you again, Liberty, for sending that in. Awesome stuff.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are great. You're the best. We love y'all. We appreciate you. We're praying for y'all, wishing y'all the best every day of every week, of every month, of every year, of forever. So do something good for somebody this week. Change somebody's life for the better. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.